Hello, everyone. I'm Christopher Locke. I'm the IBPA Director of Membership and Member Services, and this is a Get to Know Your IBPA Member Benefits webinar series. All right, so we love all the benefits for our members, and we really want to make sure everybody's taking advantage of them. So the one today that we're going to be doing is Vicks. We are very excited about having this. It's one of our newer benefits, and members have been really excited for many reasons that we will talk about today. Okay, so to do their presentation, I'm happy to welcome Vicks President Dwight Vicks and Director of Strategy and New Business Development, Debbie Rosenbaum. Hello, welcome.
Morning, afternoon, depending on where you are.
All right, I'll let you all take it away, and then if you all have questions, again, put them in the Q&A.
Okay, great. Thanks, Christopher. Really appreciate this opportunity, and welcome to everybody. We have been a member of IBPA for a couple of years now and find it to be very valuable, and we're grateful for the opportunity to introduce you to who we are. And we're really going to try to do this in the sense that we think about what you guys think about as publishers. And obviously our business is to assist you. So hopefully you'll find this helpful and give you some tips of what might help your business, as well as learn a little bit more about us. So I thought the easiest thing to do to start is just show you a very short video. It's only 2 minutes long, but it does give us an opportunity to see our facilities in action. So I'm just going to switch over here to this and let it roll.
Welcome to Vicks, a leader in print and distribution for niche, small to mid-sized publishers. I'm Dwight Vicks, president. My grandfather founded this company in 1918, and I'm very proud to follow in his footsteps. As a family-owned business, we have thrived for over 100 years by adapting to the changing times and evolving needs of our customers. From our over $4.5 million investment in digital print to our 180,000 square foot high-tech distribution space, the Vicks team is known for producing quality softcover books at a competitive price and shipping it to the end user without missing a beat. While our print and distribution platforms work seamlessly together, we provide these services independently as well. For print, our complete digital workflow allows for easy submission of files and management through production. By equipping our talented team with the latest digital print technology, we offer quick turn times on our niche 4-color softcover books. We've established long-term partners to produce longer offset runs as well. For distribution, our pick, pack, and ship facilities are powered by the latest software that provides EDI interface, API calls, and real-time access to orders, inventory, and job tracking. Conveniently located in central New York State within 30 miles of major air hubs, we are able to ship 85% of orders the same day, all while keeping order accuracy above 99%. Why Vicks, you might ask? Integrity. That is what Vicks is all about. We are committed to our employees, customers, and community. We stand by our products and live up to our commitments. Integrity. It has guided our company for over 100 years. And with integrity, we look forward to helping your business grow well into the future, too.
Okay, hopefully that came through pretty well. Yesterday, November 11th, actually was our birthday. 106 years ago, my grandfather and his brother bought an internal print shop from a textile factory here in Utica. And I thought it might be helpful just to go through a brief history of print because it's constantly evolved and it will continue to evolve. And for me, anyway, seeing that context of change helps us address the new challenges and new opportunities of the future. So as mentioned, we were founded in 1918, and this press on the left is actually my grandfather's letterpress, which is the way that Ben Franklin used to print. In the 50s, there was a revolution that changed from letterpress, which was lead type, to offset printing. And my grandfather is on the far right there with his wife, Mary, and immediately next to her is my dad, who was known as Duke Vicks. This picture was taken in 1956. After service to the Navy, he was finishing his second year of business school at Cornell and driving back and forth 2 hours a day to help my grandfather, who had a 7th grade education. I returned to the business in the 1990s, and I was also did some other things first. I was a banker and then went back to school. And it was at this time that we had extensive growth. The picture on the right is actually our third heat set web press. So we were a complete offset platform running 24 hours a day, serving publishers nationwide, not all just book printers, but we did local telephone directories, industrial catalogs. And then in 2003, our publishing customers kept coming to us and saying, can't you produce a book that costs less at much shorter order quantity? So Debbie Rosenbaum, who is now with us and part of our leadership team, was at Xerox at the time, and she helped us invest in a digital book factory where we would do the cover, the text, and bind all on digital equipment. And most recently, in 2020, we invested in an HP T240 inkjet. This is the latest technology that really has opened up a wealth of opportunity in the 4-color text market, especially. The quality, the consistency, and the performance of this device is actually the best I've ever seen in my 30+ years in the industry. And in December, we retired our last offset press, so we are now a complete digital print platform. So let's talk a little bit about book economics. You're probably familiar with this, but on the vertical or y-axis is the unit cost of the book, and on the horizontal or x-axis is the run length. And of course, that blue line represents what the unit cost was under the offset model. The more you would order, the cheaper the offset unit price of the book. And this is because offset equipment is very expensive and it's very time consuming to set up. So we had to amortize those enormous setup costs over very short quantities. That's why the cost of the short quantities was so high. Well, the game changed when digital book production came into being. And of course, we started it in 2003 because it opened up this wonderful new space where we could produce very short quantities. Here I'm saying about 7,500 and below at much lower unit costs than we could with an offset model. And this was really responding to our customers' requirements. A little different graphic here. This kind of represents the same information, but on the book life cycle, if you will. On the left part of this axis, if you want to come out with some advanced copies, we would do it digitally. And then as you move to your active editions, longer runs still make sense to produce on offset print. But most of our portfolio of customers has shifted to the short runs to start, the short runs throughout the life, and then as the book starts to go toward the end of its life cycle, or the backlists or the long tail, it still allows the opportunity to keep those books in print so customers can make some margin instead of no margin. Even books that they put out of print that were not economical under the offset model, but we could offer them to make margin under the digital model. So here's some tips on print from our point of view. I don't intend to know everything about this, but this is what we've learned with speaking with our customers. First of all, standardized trim sizes and paper stocks. This is going to offer you the best economics and a reliable supply chain. The standard trim size is 6x9, 5.5, 8.5, 8.5x11, 9x12. The printing equipment that's designed is all built to produce these sizes very efficiently. That's not to say if you want to do something unique, you can, but recognize that it will be less efficient, therefore most likely more expense. And on the paper side, that's evolved for two reasons. One is the domestic supply of paper has changed dramatically. It's reduced, responding to the decline in demand of paper. So there's fewer stocks available and fewer mills available. We used to have 100+ different types of stock and inventory. Now we've got about 12. That makes a lot of sense. And if you can buy in volume and you have standardized stocks, it translates to better paper pricing for you. So again, if you want to use this very high-end special grade paper, it's not impossible, but recognize it's going to cost more. Probably the most important thing from our point of view is find a partner that you can trust, okay? Vicks does short-run, high-quality softcover books, so we don't do everything. But we have customers that we've worked with for decades because of this trust we have with each other. It's truly a partnership, and I'll argue it has to be if we're all going to win, right? If you're just looking for the cheapest price, it's not a sustainable business model. So we are very open and transparent about our process and our customers with their needs, and we work together for a win-win. Thirdly is communicate. In real estate, they say location, 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 right? We believe in the printing business, it has to be communicate, communicate, communicate. The specs of your books, when you would like it to be issued, when you want it to be delivered. So share your forecasts, your promotions, your new release schedules to meet your due dates, because this will allow your partners to work with you to meet those dates. Printers have seasonal swings on its capacity. We tend to be very busy in the end of the summer. So our customers like to send us their best-selling titles earlier in the year when we're not as busy. And a final note on inkjet production, which is still relatively new to the industry. Again, it's opened up a whole new world of the ability of publishers to generate short quantity 4-color books, especially on uncoated paper. The caveat on inkjet is when you go to the store to buy those ink cartridges for your desktop printer, they're enormously expensive. It's very frustrating. Well, the ink we use in our inkjet webs are enormously expensive too. So the more ink you're going to lay down on the page or the ink coverage, the cost of that page will go up. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't put more ink on the page. It just means that inkjet will start to transition to offset sooner if you're going to paint the sheet, as we like to say. But on lighter coverage, uncoated stock, 4-color production on inkjet is second to none. Okay, shifting gears to distribution. And we are unique in this respect that we both do book printing as well as pick, pack, and ship, or what we call distribution. We got into this business in the 1970s when our largest customer moved to LA and they asked us to take over their warehouse. So this photo is of the second floor of our old mill structure in Yorkville, New York, where the print facility is. And we served our customers out of this building for many years, and we still do some fulfillment out of our print facility. But in 2018, and you saw that aerial photograph, we acquired a 100,000 square foot distribution center from this same large customer of ours that built this warehouse only 8 miles from our facility where we print. So you can see in the map on the upper right, that little red dot is where we are. The warehouse is in Oriskany, New York. For the history majors of the world, that was a famous Revolutionary battle site. And it's really an ideal shipping point. We're 40 miles from a UPS air hub in Syracuse, and UPS sends one of the last tractor trailers to our facility at 7 o'clock at night. That allows us to pick up at least an extra day when we're shipping product to the West Coast. 85% of our orders are shipped same day, and our error rate is less than 0.2%. Our fulfillment software is called Vericore. It's state-of-the-art. It allows you to use EDI, API calls, and give you access to your inventory, order status, and tracking information in real time. Here are some tips that we like to suggest on distribution. The first is ask the question, what business are you in? We at Vicks focus on print and ship, so you can focus on publishing great content. That focus is on financial resources, management, attention, and technology. And one that's often overlooked is management attention. For those partners of ours that have entrusted us in distribution, they've said to us, I wish I did this earlier. You know, it's one thing to hire employees and have a warehouse and manage that part of your business, but it consumes your time away from focusing on creating and selling great content. Secondly, ask if you want to market your product yourself or partner with a distributor. Our partners prefer to market their own product. What do I mean by that? They sell, market, promote, do it all themselves. We're in the background that does the pick, pack, and ship. They tend to feel more control over the sale of their product and don't want their titles to get lost in a larger catalog. However, some publishers would prefer to have the distributor to also do the marketing and sales. We do not do that. Finally, we help manage inventory. We work with our customers to analyze their sales patterns, and we can recommend order quantities. But ultimately, the final decision is always made by the publisher. In terms of pricing distribution, it's a little bit different than the spec of a book, which is fairly straightforward. We have two approaches. We can index a percentage of your retail selling price to cover basically everything we do except for freight and rent. Or we can come up with a fee schedule, which might have something like an order charge and then a per pick charge, okay? We discount our freight charges and we pass those through to you, okay? So we're gonna bill freight directly to you or to your customer, but we used to be able to use the published rate that UPS would publish, and obviously UPS gives us a discount because we send so much volume through them and other carriers as well. But the world has become much more critical about freight and shipping charges, maybe because Amazon says no shipping costs if you're a Prime member. So we've learned that basically we've had to pass through those discounts to help our customers not lose sales because of a shipping cost. And finally, upstate New York has low cost per square feet to store your inventory. And finally, in terms of services, we also do kitting. Some publishers like to send out releases of several of their new items to many retail stores. We'll assemble those packets and ship them out for you. We'll also ship to trade shows and receive that product back at the end of the show. And yes, we accept returns. Nobody likes them, but we have a process where returns will be sent back to the inventory or to the warehouse. Our team will inspect those and put resellable product back on the shelf. Okay, let's talk about POD versus print to inventory. POD obviously stands for print on demand, and Vicks prints to inventory. We like to focus on the big three, which is cash, warehouse space, and obsolescence. If you order smaller quantities, you can save on all three. In the old days, when that offset pricing model forced publishers to print longer runs, they tied up their cash in their inventory. They used more warehouse space. And unfortunately, many times they would order too much product, so they would throw out some of that product. All very costly decisions, right? So the digital platform that we began in 2003 and now are completely digital allows our customers to order very short quantities, so they keep in a small amount of inventory than they used to. Now, print on demand has a lot of definitions, and I don't pretend to say that mine is absolutely the accurate one. But from our point of view, print on demand generally means you want to print one copy when an order is received. So the order comes in, the book is printed, and it's shipped directly to your customer. From our point of view, this makes sense if a title sells less than 5 or 10 copies a year. Again, each publisher looks at this a little differently, but this is what our partners tell us. Vicks prints to inventory, meaning we'll print a 3-month supply or up to a year supply that still conserves on the big three: cash, warehouse space, and obsolescence. But the advantage of keeping some but small amount of inventory is it creates better fill rates when retailers order many titles at once. So if a bookstore is going to order, say, 3 different titles of yours, several copies, or maybe only 1 copy of each, if we have a little bit of inventory for each of those titles, we can ship that entire order in the same day. And one more point on the print on demand. So we have some customers that will send those POD orders to another printer who will ship them directly, so it won't come into our warehouse. And of course, not of course, but we print a majority of what we distribute for our publishers. But for example, we don't do case binding or hardcover books. So our customers will source those at another printer and ship them to our warehouse, because your warehouse is your distribution center. It needs to aggregate all of your product so that we can ship it out to wherever it needs to go. And we'll work with whomever printers you want us to, or even non-book items. Okay, let's shift to the IBPA benefits. And this is what we offer all of those on the call that are members of IBPA. So if you do decide to try us with print, we'll set up your title for free on the initial order and give you a 10% discount. If you give us 5 or more titles at once, we'll discount that initial order 15%. On the distribution side, free onboarding of titles by our experienced team. We've onboarded a lot of customers. So if you decide to ship all of your inventory to our warehouse in Oriskany, we'll set it up, organize it, put it away in an efficient locations at our cost, okay? We have fee discounts based on the nature of your requirements. We like to analyze 3 of your past year's sales, look at your ordering patterns. Is there any seasonality? What's your typical order like? Based on that, we'll come up with the best cost model. And finally, as I mentioned before, we will share our volume discounts that we enjoy on shipping and freight. So just to wrap up, what are some of the tips to success? First of all, ask yourself, what business are you in? And I'm suggesting what I've learned from my customers, but you have to make that decision for yourself. We're in the print and distribution business. Secondly, establish partnerships with those that you can trust. You really have to partner. We're facing a lot of challenges collectively as an industry. So, for example, I've been very loyal to our paper suppliers. When the market gets tight, they supply us with paper. We've never been denied paper because we've worked together as partners. Adapt continuously. From my grandfather's letterpress to currently today having no offset and all digital, including inkjet, and us extending our value-added proposition to distribution is how we've had to adapt continuously to survive 106 years. And finally, join associations that are helping our industry manage headwinds. IBPA is certainly a great one. Debbie's been to many of the events. I've been to a few. You can network and learn from your colleagues, partners, and even competitors. Another one in the trade, obviously, is the Book Industry Study Group, and we're involved with the Book Manufacturers Institute, or BMI. And I'd like to suggest that we have a fall conference every year called Book Manufacturing Masters that's really tailored towards our publishing customers as well. So that's the one time where we get everybody in the value chain in the room and come up with some really good initiatives to help the industry improve. So that's an overview of our company, and I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. That was, I loved how you went through kind of the whole process and explained it. So thank you so much, Dwight. Really appreciate it. We definitely do have some questions. So one of the people attending is asking about if you do hardcover books, because you mentioned you do softcover.
Yes, so we do not. We haven't. Hardcover is also referred to as case binding, which I think is the term I've used. But I will say this, we're looking at it very seriously because we're getting more call for it. You know, we've always invested where our customers can use the service, right? And in the offset days, which is the past, if you're going to invest in hardcover, these were extremely expensive devices and you needed a lot of volume to justify that and have a return on the investment. So what's really nice and exciting about the new world of digital is there's a lot of companies now that produce much smaller pieces of equipment that are still efficient, but would allow us to get in at an acceptable investment. So maybe someday, but right now, no. And honestly, if you are looking for a hardcover book, you're better off going to a printer that has it in-house, because by the time that we send it out and have it come back to us, the additional costs won't make it worth it for you.
And some people are wondering, because as you know, sometimes people are trying to figure out how to, which printer to go with, which, and all that. So some people are wondering, how do you compare to someone like Lightning Source? Like they say, do you supply an Onyx feed to Ingram? They say Lightning Source guarantees books are available through Ingram. How does that process work?
Okay, so Lightning Source, to their credit, was one of the first on-demand printers. They were ahead of the game in investing a workflow and a production process to produce a book once. So kudos to them. Of course, they're part of a very large distribution network as well. The first part of the question is, we do have a customer that does POD that will send those orders to Ingram or another source and send them directly. So it's not like we work with them, but we work in parallel. So their I think strength is Book of One, right? Which I mentioned currently we don't do. In terms of if dealing with retailers like Barnes and Noble and Amazon and having those EDI feeds and understanding how the labels are supposed to be prepared, we do that for our existing customers. So we pretty much have the experience on the distribution side. But on the print side, as I mentioned, we're more of print to inventory than we are print of one.
And in that vein, so I think sometimes people might be confused about that whole distribution aspect. So, like if someone's going through like Ingram or something, then I think they understand the idea like a bookseller like will buy a book off of the the account with Ingram. So how does your distribution system work in terms of are those customers are buying the book directly from the publisher? And then you all are like kind of handling shipping to them? Like, how does that work?
Well, that's a great question because distribution is a little bit different, right? And I don't think I answered completely your original question, but let me answer that one. So we don't sell, as I mentioned, right? But there are companies like, you know, maybe Ingram does it, but that will sell your books, include them in their catalogs, bring them to dealers, and take care of everything. Our distribution works kind of in the background. So our publishing customers are the people that are selling their product. They're marketing their product. They're taking the orders from their customers. Okay. And some of those orders come directly from their website, and we use software that connects our software with their software like WooCommerce and Shopify. So all of that is seamless and nobody touches it. But the bulk of the orders, the customer will submit to us. And generally, we work with them so that it is done automatically. They'll group a number of orders and submit them all at once, several times a day. All electronic, nobody touches it. It's ingested into our software that then will print out a pick slip, and our people will go out and find that product, put it in a box, put a label on it, and ship it to the ultimate customer. So we don't we're not dealing with our publisher's customers. Our publisher handles that side. We're just in the background doing all the work. Did that
Thank
answer your question, Christopher?
Yeah, thank you. So along those lines, as you know, IBPA has many different business models. So as members, so independent publishers of many different sizes, and then like author publishers. So some of our members look at the benefits and go, okay, I'm on like an author publisher. Is this benefit gonna be for me? It seems like it's more like independent publishers are the ones, especially, established ones, but are there author publishers that use like a printer like you all?
So it's a little tougher if you have, I think it's a function of the number of titles, right? Our largest customer has 75,000 different titles. Our smallest distribution customer, I think probably has 12 titles. And so it really, if you think about it, there is a certain amount of setup. Your systems have to be integrated. They have to be electronic for it to be efficient enough for us to do this for you. If you have one title and you're one author, um, that's going to be a little bit harder for us. So I think you really need to think about a critical mass, which maybe is 10 titles or even 5 titles, to have enough critical mass to make it efficient. If I was an author myself, um, I would hope that I would publish more than one book. Now, we have partnered with some very young publishing houses, and they have grown up to be much larger. And if we meet those folks and we buy in, and there's a connection between the two companies, we'll work with them. But we're not going to we are not designed to take every author that's just publishing one book or only printing one book. I think that's where some of the Ingram or Lulu maybe options are more cost effective.
Awesome. And then some people are asking about where you ship to. So, for example, one of our members is saying that they ship a lot to Alaska. So,
Hmm.
do you all ship books to Alaska?
We ship books all over the world. You know, in the lower 48, that's very straightforward. Shipping to Canada, we certainly do it. You have to dance a little bit more to get their documentation correctly, but we know how to do it. And then we do have, I mean, most of our customers sell product worldwide. So many have well, not many, but a few have distribution centers, say in the UK or in Australia. So we will prepare those usually, you know, container loads or pallet loads to ship overseas. And of course, you have to use special pallets. You can't use wood because unwelcome bugs can live in wood. So you also have to know all about the different requirements that each country has to allow you to export or, you know, be received by the other country. And thankfully, we have great people that know how to do that. It's not the largest part of our business. Our largest part of our business is domestic, but we can ship all over the world.
Okay, great.
Now I say that, and if somebody asks me to send to an obscure site in the middle of Africa, that might be a challenge, but we certainly can get it to the country, and the local folks would probably have to take it from there.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, basically, if anybody's wondering, they should really reach out to you all directly and ask, and you all will fill them in. So, you know, don't let anything here like deter you. Like, always reach out to Vicks and just ask them, like, you know, what you need, and I'm sure they'll be willing to work with you on that.
Yeah.
So people are also wondering about, you know, they've had issues with books being damaged when they're being delivered. Obviously, I'm not with Vicks, but in general, right? So they're wondering, do you all, is there any type of insurance that you provide when it comes to things like shipping?
So first of all of the books that we ship out of our warehouse in a carton are double-walled cartons with high burst strength because we just don't want that to be an issue. And fortunately, we have very few cartons that arrive damaged. At the same time, we have to understand that the minute it leaves our dock and we make sure the carton is packed very tightly, if the books don't fill the carton tightly, you have to put craft paper in it. So it creates a solid feel. You do not want the books to be shuffling in transit because they can scuff or cause issues. Having said that, like during COVID, so much product started to be shipped through UPS, FedEx, in the mail that those poor folks that were doing that hard work were overwhelmed. So you probably saw some videos where boxes were just thrown off tarmacs and everything was abused. So we did have an increase in shipping issues at that point, but it's pretty good today. It's a little bit more challenging when you are shipping one book. Because cost again becomes an issue. If you want to put it in a more robust envelope, that's going to cost more, right? And then which mode are you going to use? The cheapest form to ship something is called media mail by the United States Post Office. It is the cheapest way to do it. So a lot of people like that. The challenge with that is you can't insure it, you can't track it, and it may get there in 2 days, it may get there in 2 months. I mean, it's been better, but I would just caution you to realize that there could be some hurdles with media mail. But all of the other carriers do offer insurance. We don't sell that. That's really a decision by the publisher if they want to insure the product or not. And you know, we have very good relationships with UPS. So if there is an issue, we could file a claim on behalf of the customer. Like if it arrived at a retail and the pallet, you know, fell over and they sent us photographs, then we could go back on behalf of the customer to a certain level of reimbursement that UPS will offer, but they have limits as well.
Thank you. Some people are also asking, you mentioned kind of generally the dimensions of books. Do you have maybe a page on your website that specifically lists the dimensions, or do you want to tell us some of them here? I know you mentioned they're kind of the more popular ones.
The more common
Go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, the more common ones are listed on our website. It's not it's not the total list, but the more common ones are listed on the website, but we'd be happy to answer any questions.
And those are the ones that we carry paper dimensions to do it most efficiently with minimal trim currently, right? But if any publisher comes to us and says, you know what, we'd rather do it a slightly bit different, if we can build enough volume to order truckload quantity of that paper in that trim size, we're all in. It's just, you have to have that quantity to make it worthwhile. Again, you can print whatever size you want. We're just telling you, if you stick to the standard sizes and the standard stocks, you'll get the best price.
Great. And then so obviously, as you know, a lot of publishers are concerned about returns. So someone's wondering, do you like they're saying what are the rate of returns for shipments? Most of the time, they find that there's like logistics issues. They're wondering, in terms of the logistics, what do you all do to try to ensure that maybe returns are lessened in general?
We have very, very few returns that are because there was a wrong address or logistics issues. The returns, I mean, it really is, if the address is wrong, there's a penalty that UPS will assess, but most of our customers they're putting their data in. So we're simply using their data to ship to the shipping address they provide. And most of our customers have software that verifies zip codes and things like that. The returns I was referring to, Christopher, are when Barnes & Noble or Amazon sends the publisher product back that doesn't sell. And that, I'll be honest with you, we get shipments from Amazon every week, and those Amazon shipments don't come in good shape. The boxes are damaged, and but our people are good. They go through it. They're well trained. They work with our clients about what is resellable and what has to be thrown out. And I think, the industry amount that tends to be thrown out, and I'm just sharing what I hear, is like 30%, 25-30% returns when they deal with customers that have returns. I know there's a lot of effort to reduce that number, but I don't know what it is because I'm not privy to that. I'm just dealing with when those returns come back, how do we process them for them?
Okay.
And I will say, that fee we charge it on returns as well. Because if you think about it, there's still effort involved to put those back. So there's costs all the way through. We're all motivated to reduce returns if we can. Because when those come in, our team has to open up those boxes, find the book, look it up in the computer, find the location, and return it to the proper location. And I will say, when it gets to that location, the barcode is scanned, the location is scanned, so we've confirmed that we put the right book back in the right slot. And, our shipping errors are less than 1%, right? So we're inspecting and scanning and using technology to make sure that your orders are going out the way you want them to.
Fantastic. And then on that note, some people are just wondering, like what the process is. Let's say, if a book's printed and it's, I don't know, the color's off or something, or it's damaged or something. How does that work? Like, do they, I guess, contact you all, and then is there like a cost involved, or is there, do you all just reprint them? Like, how does that work?
Well, if we print the book, first of all, one of the things we really try hard is to learn what the expectation of the customer is, right? If a customer is looking for a Rolls Royce, we're not your manufacturer, right? If you're going to do a high-end coffee table book, that's not what Vicks does. But we do outstanding softcover, generally color in the middle and on uncoated stock. An excellent book. So it's understanding what the expectations are and make sure that we're aligned so there aren't any surprises when we ship the book. Well, this isn't what I wanted. Secondly, if we cause the quality problem, we'll discuss it with the customer and we'll say, look, this is a problem. We're going to own up to it. They'll say to us, well, look, I can sell this. Or if they can't, then we'll do it over on our dime. I mean, that's when I talk about integrity of our company, it's we stand by the product. So if we ship a book that's poorly printed or poorly bound or poorly trimmed, we'll replace it at our cost. at our warehouse, at our distribution facility, if we are putting books away that are supplied to us from another source and we notice something glaring, we'll call our customer, the publisher, and say, hey, we just received this shipment of books. We'll send them pictures and we'll let the publisher then go talk with that manufacturer about whatever happened there. We're not trying to find errors with other printers. It's in part of our doing our job is, and of course, sometimes our distribution folks will find a problem with a book that our print shop printed and no one knew until we got through, say, the middle of the inventory. And then again, we just own up to it and we deal with it. But thankfully that doesn't happen very much, but we're not perfect. So it does happen. Digital technology is amazing. It's gotten rid of so much variability that we used to have to struggle with in the offset world, but it's still not absolutely perfect. So, sometimes things happen, you deal with it and you fix it and you learn from it.
Thank you. And Debbie, could you put in the chat the contact information? Because some people are asking questions, but they're very
Of course.
specific.
Sure.
I want to make
Okay.
sure they reach out just to you directly.
Sure.
So some people are wondering, they're saying, the idea of printing, distributing, warehousing, and I think they're confused about whether or not you have to do all of those with Vicks versus maybe one or the other. Can you just talk about if someone prints with you, that does not mean they have to also distribute and what's it called? Warehouse with you, right?
Absolutely. It's from when there's that right fit, doing both is really valuable. A majority of the customers we print for, we do distribute for. But as I said before, we don't print everything for every product of customers we distribute for. And we distribute high-end electric pianos that are made in Italy. We don't do any printing for them, right? We're just distributing a different product. So you can do one or the other. And there's some book publishers that we don't do any printing for. So it's really, again, I don't believe in forcing anybody to do anything. You've got to decide what's best for your business. We are very upfront about what we do well and what we can't do. And we're not going to, because if we say yes to something that we're going to struggle with, nobody wins in that scenario. So we'll be very upfront. Like somebody asked a question, do we do hardcover books? We do not. And I suggest you go directly to a supplier that can do that. You'll get the best deal and they know what they're doing. So it's really what works best for the customer. Obviously, we'd love to be able to do both, but that doesn't always work for everybody. And on the print side, we ship a lot of product to other warehouses that aren't our own.
And then some people are wondering, are you seeing any general trends in demand in terms of genre, topics, formats that are moving to readers based on the stuff you've been printing and working on in your facility?
Well, we used to be a lot larger because we used to do millions of local telephone directories. When was the last time you used a phone book, right? So there's been markets that we used to be very strong in that don't exist anymore. The area that has remained strong from our purview is educational content. So whether it's learning a language, an instrument, or a religious curriculum, books that tend to support pedagogy have remained consistent throughout. We have not gotten into some of the manga? Manga, thank you, Debbie. That's a little bit too big for us. I mean, we're regional jet. We can fly from Syracuse, New York to New York City. We have all the electronics that the big jets do, but those are more of the, fly from New York to London. You need to have a bigger facility with offset equipment to do that. A lot's been talked about how publishers are trying to put more treatments or embellishments on covers or even on the leaf edge of the book to enhance the perception of value. Not that it's overwhelming the market, but they've had some success differentiating product on a small portion of their catalog for higher margin. So we're looking into that. We do gloss UV, gloss matte, matte UV, matte film lamination. So it's pretty straightforward in terms of coatings. But we're going to look into these other options if our customers say that they can win with that and it'll help them sell a book.
Great. And then when it comes to, I'm assuming that some publishers will decide to print some books through you, but they may have other books that like they do print on demand for because they don't have as many sales for that book. So
Sure.
they probably kind of do a mix and match sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Okay, great. And then
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
um,
Like we have one customer, a religious customer, they happen to produce some Bibles that we don't print, but there's lots of other things. So they will ship the Bibles to us along with, we print all of their other material. And then as requests come in for orders for fulfillment, we're able to fulfill both the soft cover as well as the hardcover.
And during, there was this supply chain issues a few years ago. How has that evened out? Is that a little bit better now? I mean, in terms of people giving you all enough time to print, I'm assuming that they should have a conversation with you if it's 1,000 books or 10,000 or whatever. They should have a conversation with you about how long that's going to take and how much time they should give you in advance so that you can get it to them, whatever the date they really want it.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher, that's a topic. How much time do we have? You know, the supply chain issue is really we're talking about COVID, right? Because all of a sudden, many segments shut down. Like we have one segment, churches, right? They weren't getting together. So for one of our religious customers that we do stuff that's used in services, it just stopped ordering 100%. And then when international trade stopped because there couldn't be containers going back and forth, publishers started coming to the North American supply base, which was already smaller, and we simply couldn't handle that all at once. Like, well, first the sales dropped, but then as they started coming back, everybody ordered at once. Plus, we were taking on volume that was previously printed elsewhere. So we pride ourselves on living up to our due dates. And currently we're around 2 to 3 weeks as a standard turn time. But if you have a stock out book that's, selling great, then we'll push it to the head of the class. But we moved out to like 10 weeks turn time. It was horrible. I mean, and everybody was struggling. And that resulted in, because there simply wasn't enough capacity for all of the demand that came at once, right? You can't put 15 pounds through a 5-pound bag. So that's all kind of leveled off for now. But I'm still a little bit worried about the balance that we have in the industry. I mean, yes, I understand the pricing pressure that everyone is under, and some of the offshore sources are so low that it doesn't even cover the cost of my paper. And that doesn't make sense to me. So I think, and the paper mills right now, the demand for paper has dropped, and yet the price hasn't dropped. And the reason is because they're finally making a fair return on how much it is to make paper. So if the price does stop, those mills are going to either shut down those mills or they're going to convert that book paper or uncoated free sheet to other applications like corrugated box. And that would put more stress on the supply chain for book papers, right? So that's why I'm a huge advocate of, I'm involved in the BMI, of getting all of us in the same room and saying, hey, look, there's still some precarious imbalances in this industry if we want it to stay strong in North America. And that doesn't necessarily mean throw up tariffs and start fighting with everybody. It means how can we work together to understand each other's challenges to protect this great industry that we all love? Because if there are further kind of pushes in any direction, we could face some other shocks. I'm not suggesting as bad as we faced in COVID, but right now we're in a pretty good position for domestic supply to produce books. Paper is a little bit less comfortable. We're a little bit of thin ice there. And of course, everybody's under margin pressure. But if I might just say one more thing from like a soapbox perspective, I think we can all do better raising the perception in the world of the value of a book.
Right.
Debbie and I had lunch yesterday with an IBPA customer, and he said, $30 for a book is a bargain. You're with it for 2 weeks, and people think about what they spend on streaming and downloading content. It's really a wonderful investment in creativity and enjoyment and entertainment and time. And so I think we can all work on improving the value of the book. And it's documented in many studies, particularly in education. Using the printed material enhances the learning experience. That doesn't mean that electronic can't expand upon and make it more effective, but one or the other doesn't really work. We've had some customers that went all digital and have come back to do book to kind of as a preferred media, particularly in the education space.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to, I'm an author, and what's crazy to me is, you have a book that ends up costing like, let's say $15, and then you as the author make $1 off of it. And I'm like, this cost me thousands of dollars, years of my
Right.
life. And, it's so interesting at the end of the day how little you end up taking home. And, you're like, it means everything to you, but also you're like, you just can't live on
Right.
how little we all bring in. So I want to finish with, because we're very excited. This is our only benefit that has warehousing, but I want to make sure people understand that concept and when warehousing is a good fit for them and when it may not be, so that they can, make the decision about, the services they want to, work with you on, if that is something they should use for their business.
Yeah, so I think, what we can do is we can take several titles, store them for you, organize them in such a way that we can distribute them efficiently. We have the understanding of how to communicate with the big trade partners and make it cost effective. I think it's something. What we generally like to say to publishers that are considering it is at least do the analysis. And at the end of the day, you may decide, you know what? I like it the way that I'm doing it now. I'd rather run my own little warehouse here. I like my staff. That's fine. At least you have a benchmark to know, well, what would it be if I bought that service out? And as the biggest thing that's never really appreciated until people have done it is particularly owners have to think about how much of their day is devoted to dealing and managing of that warehouse and distribution. And that's not to say, I mean, I still have some wonderful customers that I print for that still does their own distribution, and everybody's happy, and so it's really what's best for the publisher, but there's no harm in analyzing what it would be to outsource. And not just at Vicks, you should talk to other players as well. I mean, look, I'd love you to come to Vicks, but I realize we're not all things to all people. We have our strengths that we're very proud of. But at the end of the day, you want it to be a marriage that's going to last forever and be happy. So doing the due diligence, evaluating it is going to bring you benefit. Either way, you're going to figure out if you're making the right decision or if you want to go in another direction.
Yeah. Well, Dwight, Debbie, I mean, we're very grateful that you all offered this benefit. I know our members are excited to have not just printing, another printer to pick from, but distribution and warehousing, all these different options. And we're grateful that you all are offering, discounts on these services, and you've been around a very long time. You're a big player, and so we're grateful to have you as a partner to IBPA. I highly recommend, if people have any questions, please reach out. Debbie put her information in the chat.
Right.
And if you're watching this video elsewhere, the information's on the member benefit page, if you just log into the members only page. So please reach out to them, ask questions. They are there to figure out if you're going to be a good fit for them. So thank you again. Thank you everyone for watching. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to providing this benefit to our members for many years to come.
Thank you again, Christopher.
Very
Great to be with you all. And we all love what we do, but we also have, important things outside work. So we're always trying to strike that balance. But thank you all for your attention, and hope we get to see some of you in person soon.